Iran and energy analyst at the Eurasia Group. Greg, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me on.
So are we at a point, given what I would characterize as the tempered response by Israel to Iran's attack last weekend, and in turn, what seems like Iran's tempered response to what Israel has done, can we close this chapter now? Is that likely?
I think we can close this chapter for precisely the two reasons that you gave. First, Israel's response to Iran's historic attack does look pretty measured, right? As far as we can tell, the reports indicate that Israel did three things. It launched airstrikes against Iran's allies in Syria, something that it's done many times in the past. It launched a drone attack inside Iran using its agents and covert elements, again, something that it's done in the past. And it also launched missiles directly into Iran, something that Israel has not done in the past. But it did so on a small scale. So by all appearances, what Israel did appeared to be pretty calibrated, pretty limited. That's one element that would suggest we're in a de-escalatory trend. The other element, as you noted, the Iranians have responded to this attack in a pretty muted way. There seems to be a pretty concerted effort from Iran, from the regime, from its media, to downplay this attack. Iranian officials are broadly denying reports that Israel fired missiles directly into Iran. They seem to want to let this go. They seem willing to absorb it so long as it means further de-escalation. So I think for now, we can be pretty confident that this chapter has closed, but that's no guarantee that we might see another crisis if things come to blows between Israel and Iran at some point in the future.
And I guess the big risk, the most immediate proximate risk to economic activity would be anything that jeopardized the Straits of Hormuz, which Iran has shown no signs of doing in this particular instance.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear rhetoric from Iran all the time. They threaten to close the Strait of Hormuz if they feel their interests are being threatened. It's a threat they like to do quite often. But we're not seeing any indication that they're anywhere near doing something that extreme. That, of course, would affect all the oil flowing through the straits. It would mean war, very likely, between Iran and its Gulf neighbors, as well as the United States. But, it bears pointing out, Iran is also exporting quite a lot of crude through the strait. It's moving at least 1.5 million barrels a day. Almost all of it's going to China. This in spite U.S. sanctions. That's not a crude flow that the Iranians want to disrupt. So right now, I don't see a huge amount of risk to the strait.
I was listening this morning to an Iranian academic on the BBC radio, and he had an interesting take. I don't know what to make of it, but let me lay it out here for you and get your reaction to it. The take pertained to last Saturday's assault by Iran on Israel. And this individual said that even though there was little damage done to Israel, Israel knocked out, and its allies knocked out 99% of the projectiles fired into Israel. It was still a victory for Iran because it forced the West and Israel's allies to spend a tremendous amount of very high-end weaponry to knock out of the skies 200 very cheap drones. And Iran comes away with, therefore, an asymmetric win. In other words, we spent less than you spent. You've now depleted your arsenal. And we, the Iranians, got a lot of valuable intelligence from how you and your friends responded. How does that strike you?
Well, I think there is an argument to be made that what the Iranians have done with this attack is demonstrate capability. Right? They have a large arsenal of drones and ballistic and cruise missiles, and now they've used them. And they've used them to demonstrate that they have this power. They can hit Israel if they want to. And they've done it, largely to restore deterrence following Israel's attack on Iran's consulate in Damascus. So in that sense, it is something of a win. It also reflects a trend that we've seen elsewhere in the regional crisis, reflected, of course, by what the Houthis have been doing in the Red Sea over the last several months. The Houthis have been armed and equipped by Iran. So we've seen many examples over the last several months of what these drones and missiles can do. But again, going back to Israel's management of this attack, Israel and the United States and other allies were able to shoot down the vast majority of these projectiles. It was something of a dramatic success for Israeli air defenses. Contrast that to what has happened in Iran in the last 24 hours. Israel, by all reports, was able to fire multiple missiles into Iran, striking targets deep within Iranian territory. The Iranians were not able to stop it. The Israelis have shown their own capabilities, and so I think both sides can come away with a sense of victory here. Both sides have demonstrated the power that they could unleash were things to get worse. They have demonstrated capability. They have restored a degree of deterrence.
Very interesting. And as we began, you said seems possible that this could be the closing of this particular chapter. Greg Brew, thank you very much. Have a good weekend, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All righty.